You are listening to Real Men Feel with Andy Grant. Real Men Feel encourages men to allow and express all of their emotions. Despite what you may have been taught, all emotions do serve you. Real Men Feel is committed to engaging in discussions that most men aren't having, but all men can benefit from. All links mentioned in each episode are in the show notes found on the blog at realmenfeel.org. Now, let's get to it. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Real Men Feel. This is your host, Andy Grant. I am very glad that you're joining us today. You know, whether you're a man who openly feels everything that comes his way, or you kind of avoid and you deny and you want to stuff those emotions, you're welcome here. And anywhere in between those places you may be. Because whether you really acknowledge how you're feeling or you try to deny how you're feeling, you feel, right? All men feel. The show is called Real Men Feel, but, you know, all men feel. Could be a less snazzy title easily, or just men feel, right? So if you identify as a man and you want to feel, or you want to understand your feelings more, this is a place for you. And I'm really excited for my guest today. We chatted a couple times briefly, and we have a lot in common. We're kind of, you know, we're members in a club I think neither of us wish we were part of, but it leads to better things in our lives, and we'll dive into that. But my guest today is a healer, light worker, and life coach, Jeffrey Saunders.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me on today.
Awesome. Glad to talk to you. We connected not long ago, but you're one of those guys that I talked to you once and I feel like I've known you for a long time.
Yes, most definitely. It's amazing when we start evolving in our life and we've grown to this beautiful place, how we start connecting with like-minded people with the energies of who we are.
Right.
And most definitely, I felt as soon as I seen you on that one podcast with Jeffrey Berger, I was like, oh my God, I need to talk with this guy because I felt a connection. It's just instant, right? Yeah.
Cool. So again, you talked about, and I introduced you as a healer and a light worker. And I wonder if you would start off by kind of explaining like what those mean to you. Like, do you mean, are you a doctor? Or what does a light worker actually mean? You know, could you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, most definitely. A healer, we can look at a healer in any form, a doctor, a nurse, a psychologist, psychiatrist. You know, there's many forms of healers. For myself, which we'll get into as we get into my story a bit, I'm a healer in a spiritual aspect because of dying and coming back to my body 2 years ago from a suicide attempt. My last one that I tried. I've grown into the abilities of the connection that I still have to where we all come from, of a very high level of love and light, that I'm able to heal people through light that comes through my body, out of my hands, and it connects with people. I'm able to heal them that way, emotionally, physically, mentally. And it doesn't have to be done in person. I can actually do it just from sitting in my room, connecting to anyone in the world. So that is the healing aspect, as well as I've been shown and taught how to also remove bad karma that's attached to us, that it stops us from living more of a successful life of negative energies that are attached to our energy. So I've been shown, and this is how my transformation of my life, why I'm so successful in my life, is because of the high being spirits that showed me, got me to go through this process. And now I can give back to people with the exact same process that transformed and changed my life. Lightworker for me, a light worker, and I've known a lot of light work. I've got to know a lot of light workers now. And the common thread so far is that light workers typically have a dark past. They went through some serious crap. They've had to overcome it, and now they're giving back to the world. Because what we want to do as a light worker, and this is my interpretation, is I remove darkness from people's lives and I bring in the light. So the same as yourself with who you are, it's like you're giving back to people through the success of your own life. And that's what a light worker means for me.
Cool. I appreciate that. And you know, I use terms like that. Some guests you, and I always just kind of every now and then take a step back and just, if this is just a brand new light worker is brand new to someone, or just like, you know, what does all this woo woo mean? And of course, every definition is yours. I'm not asking,
Yes.
you know, what's the dictionary definition of anything?
Yeah.
But so have you always been a spiritual man?
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? definitely most not. That didn't actually start until I had addictions for about 25 years of my life. Actually, no, that's a lie. When I look back at my life, I see addictions as early as about 7 years old with video games. You know, that was the first one. Addictions come in many, many forms. It's more so when it becomes unhealthy in our life, because it takes us away from feeling our feelings and emotions to escape from it. So video games for me was the first one. And then, you know, I led on to stealing when I was younger. In my early years, and it was more just the rush, and again escaping what I was going through at home and at school, that it gave me this place of not being able to feel or think about it. And then it led on to drugs for about 25 years after that. But I became spiritual when I put myself into treatment 9 years ago now, and it was finally when I did that 12-step program. And I always tell people, and it's funny because when I grew into the spiritual aspect of connecting to our true self who's inside of our bodies, after completing that 12-step program, I said, I'm like, even if you're not an addict, everyone can benefit from this 12-step program. You do not need to be an addict. Why? It's because you get out those secrets that you've been holding on to all of your life. The things you've done to other people or the things that people have done to you. That is the biggest thing. That was a relief. And what I can share with people out of that one step, out of the 12-step program, you know, I went to a priest and I had a whole list done up, because I knew when I was doing this 12-step program, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be 100% honest to get everything out. And I had this big list, probably like 2 pages, all these things written down in points of all the things I've done or what people have done to me where they were secrets. And these secrets are negative attachments as well. That's a part of us that are keeping us from having great success in our life. So when I went to see the priest, you know, after about 10 of them, he's like, okay. He's like, you know, that's good now. I said, no, I'm reading all of them off. He's like, no, he's like, fine, read them off. His point to it, which is very powerful, is he said, do you do any of those things now? And I said, well, no. And he said, this is life. These are lessons. No matter what you've been through or what you've done or what, you know, I can talk about what other people have done. But it's more so what you have done that I released is, he said, these are mistakes. He's like, no matter the level of what you've done, as long as you learned from them, that is your soul's evolution of learning and growing, right? And that's how we can forgive ourselves. As soon as he said that and leaving there, I felt the weight taken off my shoulders. But it was when I was 32, I'll be 42 next month or in February. That was the beginning phase of my spiritual awakening. And then, you know, I have way more ever since then, but that was when I first started. That's a long answer to a short question. It's what you asked. But yeah.
And really in the intro, you threw out that, you know, you've died and come back and have had multiple suicide attempts. So let's start digging into that. And that was part of the Suicide Attempt Survivor is the club I mentioned that we're both members of, but I don't think anyone grows up says, well, I can't wait to join that group of people. And
no, well, and you know, I would never have shared this stuff either. It's when we truly, when we really do the work and heal on the inside, then when we're fully healed, then we can share, and we don't mind sharing about it because we've been completely healed from it. And then that's when we start to share, or at least that's how I feel about myself and a few others that I know. So I'll share a little bit about my first attempt. I was 12 years old. And, you know, we've all had certain hardships in our life and things that we've been through. For me in my life, you know, they didn't know in school I had ADHD, you know, back 35 years ago. So in grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, my desk was always separated from the class. I've shared this lots before. In grade 2, even, my desk, the teacher put my desk in the back corner of the classroom, put 3 bookshelves around me. So you can imagine a child who is so young going through this, feeling like there's no worth to them. They're not like the other children, you know, pushed away, and then being bullied on top of it every year at school. You know, I really had no confidence in myself. I had no self-love. That's, you know, most of my life until recently. So, you know, I went through that phase. So as a child, at such a young age, and all those years going to school, feeling like I was no good or no part of anything. That is part of the reason why, you know, it led up to my first suicide attempt at 12. And then I don't want to get into it too much because just out of respect, because my dad's not the same as he used to be. And, you know, he's had to learn and evolve himself throughout life. But as a child, we're going through home, I did not have any love for my father. He was not an emotional man. And there was abuse, more verbal, emotional abuse at home. So going through school, going home to that, you know, I ended up, I tied it, and I want, before I share about the suicide attempts, I do want to apologize for people, or say I'm sorry for people who have lost people from suicide attempts, because I am very blessed and lucky to be here. And it's not that I'm any better than anyone else when I share about my life and my story, but I am sorry for people who have lost people from suicide. So, but the first time I was 12 years old, and I tied a belt real tight around my neck, trying to just to stop breathing. And for what, I can't remember, but it didn't fall through. I had a massive mark going around my neck, and then I had to try to explain to my parents, and it's something I don't recall what I said. I don't know what I could have said. But that was the first attempt for me. And then as my teenage years went on, you know, trying drugs, getting into drugs was the first time in my life, when I was 15, the first time in my life, not feeling the pain and suffering that I've carried throughout such young years in my life. Trying marijuana was the first thing that I was like, wow, I don't feel anything anymore. You know, the pain and suffering that I'm feeling inside day after day, I don't feel it. So I became very addicted to whatever drugs, all from the age of 15, you know, until I put myself into treatment at 32. But during that time, you know, I tried committing suicide 12 times in my life. Most of them, you know, another time I was 23, cutting my wrists. And again, it was from just not wanting to feel the pain anymore, the suffering. And a lot of people will judge other people who try to commit suicide because they haven't lived in that person's shoes to understand the depths of feeling emotional pain that you can't see on the inside to want to end your life. And for me, it always took a while of feeling this pain and suffering where I could not take it no more. But that was the second time. And then there was a few more times towards the end of my 30s before I put myself in treatment, where I tried multiple times gassing myself and just cutting myself and overdosing on pills, trying to end my life. And the one time that really hits me in the heart, that hurts a lot still, even till today, is the one time I tried to overdose on Valiums. I took 80 of them. And my mom came home and found me on the floor laying in pee and barely not breathing. That part still hurts me because, you know, typically when I tried to end my life before, I was always cautious of like, well, I don't want to make a mess. I'll put my arm in the tub. You know, I was still being very caring because of who I was, you know, not to leave a mess for people, because I didn't, you know, because I still cared about when they found me or whatever the case may be. But it's the pain and suffering. And I've shared this before with other people, is for people who don't understand, and you see someone in physical pain, you know, it's a family member in the hospital, they just lost a leg from some horrible accident. You can physically see the pain and suffering they're going through. And it might, or even, you know, God forbid, someone with a burn victim or whatever, you see the pain and suffering and they do not want to live no more. When someone tries to commit suicide, or I can only speak for myself, when you get to that point, it's pain and suffering that you can't see. And they say nowadays, they're saying emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse. So now some awareness is coming around pain and suffering from within that people can't see. So yeah, you know, when it comes to people trying to understand, you know, look at it in a different aspect when you see physical pain and someone wanting to end their life. You know, someone's been going through to end their life emotionally that you can't see, and it's been going on a long time. You know, to have some compassion for people, you know, who have committed suicide. But so that was pretty much the stand. And then I guess the last one was 2 years ago, and it was the first time in 9 years. I actually got put on good medications when I was about 32 years old to stop stop the anxiety I went through in my life and the depression. It worked for me immediately. I was very lucky that they worked. And then, but the root cause was never fixed because we're masking. And it was, I wasn't taking my medication. I was doing shift work at work. It was throwing me off. And a lot of things came down on me. But that was the last time I tried to commit suicide. And I ended up overdosing like I intended to. But I was told 4 minutes by someone that I know who is very good with his connection to the other side, mediumship or channeling, whatever you want to say. And he said, yes, you were dead for 4 minutes. When I came back from that time, when I came back to my body, I remember coming back to my body, and I could physically see spirits around me. They're animals, all different, whatever spirits that lived here at some point, they wander around us all the time. But that was the last time, and it changed my life, because then I was opened up to this whole new world that I'm connected to at all times when I feel a relaxed state, when I get myself to a relaxed state. That was the huge opening for the spiritual aspect as well in my life that I've grown from ever since.
Cool. Whew. So,
I have a lot.
Yeah, no, there's a lot there, and I want to try to just slow it down a little bit and unpack some of that. So I just want to share something that whenever I meet someone and they're like, I can't understand why someone would try to kill themselves, or why did that person die? And I would say, great, don't waste energy trying to understand it.
Yes.
Like you have to live it to understand being at that place of such a degree of hopelessness and helplessness. And it's not necessarily wanting to die. It's, as you said, it's wanting this pain to stop.
Yes.
Right? Just want everything to stop. I don't know what else I can do. I just want everything to stop. And if you haven't experienced that, then don't try to. Be glad. You're blessed. It hasn't crossed your mind. It's not something that you've ever been obsessed with. Great. Go live your life. Don't understand why someone's gone, and just do your best to deal with it. Don't try to you don't want to emotionally be in those shoes. If you don't feel that way, don't force yourself to.
No, most definitely. Yeah.
Cool. So you had multiple attempts from a really young age, and you mentioned that marijuana helped you not kind of hide that pain. So was your experience with drugs kind of like each drug would only work for a while and you'd feel bad and then you would try something else and kept self-medicating? Was that what was happening?
It was most definitely. It's funny. It's not funny. But looking back, it was like I didn't realize I was an addict until I tried to stop completely and put myself into treatment, because I never wanted to stop. So I didn't have a problem, right? So we think there's no problem. But most definitely it was just like, let me try this drug, let me try that one, see how that feels. It was definitely self-medicating all throughout my life. Definitely.
Right. So it's almost like, no, I'm not an addict. These drugs are helping me stay alive. So there's nothing wrong here. That kind of
Yeah. And then I was just partying because I didn't want to think and feel. It was always about, I didn't realize it then. Now I do, looking back. But it was always about not wanting to feel the pain and suffering and emotions that were stored inside of myself.
So with the benefit of hindsight, are you now aware of what you didn't want to feel as a child?
Yes, most definitely. Not feeling wanted, not feeling loved, not never having any the self-worth I never had. It was mainly just never feeling wanted is what it came down to. Not feeling loved, not feeling wanted, and definitely not feeling loved. Or did I say that twice? Not feeling wanted, not feeling loved.
It's doubly important.
Yeah, that was doubly important. Yeah. But looking back, that's definitely the biggest things, I think, looking back. Yeah.
So I've heard the term inner child, and when we talked in the past, you talked about it was this inner child wound, and you talked about your dad, being emotionally absent at least, right?
Yes.
And that often called the father wound that leaves in boys. And like in my experience, that hole makes us think that we're not lovable, and if we can't love ourselves, we can't really love anyone else, and we can't receive the love from others. Is that your experience?
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. Completely on point. Yeah.
All right. So During all the years of attempts and self-medication, was anything beneficial? Or you did mention that you finally got on prescription drugs that you did feel a benefit from.
After the treatment and stuff I went through, then I got on medication that
Okay,
helped.
so you got clean and sober, and then prescription drugs helped.
It was
something.
Yeah, it was right around that time. But I mean, still, being an addict at that point, when you're an addict, slip-ups are part of the process. And I slipped up for years, even after, but it wasn't every day me doing it. And every time when I make mistakes in life, I look at, okay, well, where did I go wrong this time? And I never, ever gave up. I always kept trying to be better. And it took a long time. You know, it took almost 10 years now for where I'm at. It took a lot of mess ups of learning and growing to be fully healed and transformed like I am today, right? And I always tell people, and I ask when I work with spirit, I'm like, how can I tell people never to give up? How can I do that and mean it? Because if I try to end my life several times, who am I to be telling people not to give up when I try to give up? And what they had told me is that you did not have the tools and knowledge to know more than you did at those times. Because if you did, I just got goosebumps all over. Anytime I speak truth, I head to toe goosebumps. When we go through things in the past, you know, I would have done different things differently like I can today because I've learned I've been given the tools and knowledge from all of those experiences to grow into who I am today, where now I don't have those issues because now I have the tools and knowledge to know how to handle them, right? And then that's how I'm able to help people, to tell them never to give up. Because like I said, I always try to learn out of all of those slip-ups, what I did wrong, start eliminating friends that were good friends, start eliminating, they always say people, places, things. You don't want to give them up right away because you want to try and see if you can do things your way, right? But so yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was when it comes to the multiple attempts that I made, I was just like, well, I was just a real slow learner when it came to that, and it took multiple tries. But like, all right, maybe there is a better way. Maybe there is some better way to navigate life than just trying to end it. Because I'm not good at ending it, and I don't feel like I've been good at living it either. So I had to like find something else to do. And
yeah, and it's learning. See, the big thing is learning from. We only know what we know, and look where it got us, right? So to still try to manage your own life your own way, you know, you start realizing, no, I should listen to that person. I should read that book. I should watch that video. I should go see a therapist, which I still see today. I think everyone should. Even my therapist has a therapist. But you know, you start learning tools from different areas, and you start applying them to your life. Because, like I said, what we knew, look where it got us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my book's still here, How to Succeed at Life After Failing at Suicide. It's like everything I wish I knew at 17 and just had no idea was there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we can only do with best that we can. And you know, earlier you mentioned, you know, you kept messing up and that you kept learning and growing. And I just want to invite everyone, just throw away messing up. Just like, no, we all keep learning and growing.
Yes.
And even if we keep learning the same thing, or it seems like the same thing over and over, there's always different levels and deeper aspects of it. So, you know, I don't find that any of us are truly ever repeating the same lesson. It's different aspects, different viewpoints, again, allowing it to go deeper.
Because if you're not learning the one way, because we need to evolve from that situation, your soul came here to evolve from the experiences. So if you're not growing from the one way where you're messing up, then things will be slightly changed to alter it in some way, but it will be the same for the same lesson. But the perspectives will change on how you need to approach it so that we can actually evolve from them, right?
Right. So to get back to kind of the notion of healing that inner child, is it only, how do I say this? Does everybody have an inner child, or is it only people that somehow through abuse and trauma had it like with an injured inner child?
Well, that would be a good thing to ask a psychologist. But if you're asking for my opinion,
you're who's here. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I know. That's because that could go a few ways. But my perspective on the inner child, looking at it, when it comes to me, the inner child, it's for me, I think it is if a child, I think a lot of children go through trauma in some form, on some level. It's when we don't heal as we're growing from a child into our teenage years, and then even from our teenage years growing, if there are certain things that haven't been healed that harmed us or hurt us in some way emotionally, as children, to me, that term inner child is where it kind of comes into play, but that's to be healed. I still believe we have that inner child, because I have the connection with myself today where there's a lot of joy, happiness, and playfulness. So I'm still connected actually to that inner child who has been healed though at the same time. So the inner child, I think, actually never leaves us, whether we're healed or we're not healed, right? Either we can live life with joy, abundance of happiness, and living a good life and being playful. That's our inner child. How it resonates with me, I guess.
Yeah, it's fun. I knew I wanted to ask you, but I don't recall ever answering this myself, even in my own thoughts. But hearing you speak, and kind of what resonates with me is that our inner child is that most open and authentic and playful aspect. That, again, it's always there. It's not only someone that's been through trauma that has this, but someone that's been through trauma might shove that inner child down into the end of their big toe, and just for them, and they're not in touch with it, or they might perceive that my inner child is just depression and weeping and thinking that life sucks, and no, that's the hurt, that's the pain. But there still is this joyful being within us somewhere that we can reach. Cool.
That's a good question.
And I have never heard inner child from therapists or psychologists. It's always been more from light workers and just more alternative therapies. But so is inner child come from more of the medical vision as well?
Well, that's where I think I kind of hear it from, or that's where I kind of learned it from. So that's why at first when I heard it, to me it resonated right away, where a psychologist or something from hurt and pain. But the truth is when we just talked about it, no, the inner child is that playful, being open, authentic being who is just here to,
it's like the aspect of us before anything happened, right? Just the perfection of the soul, or something like that. Our brightest light, or
all of it.
Cool. So all right, so when did you consciously become aware that you had some sort of inner child experience within you, and there was this this kind of wellspring of joy that actually was part of you that maybe you weren't feeling or acknowledging?
Well, the happiness and joy didn't come right away, but something I've never shared about in the podcasts I've done with other friends as well. I never really noticed it until, when I look back again, I started using steroids when I was 23. And, most of my life where I didn't feel wanted or not a part of, I had all those issues. Actually, when I was 19, I gained 190 pounds in a year and a half from overeating. I went from 200 pounds, a year and a half later, I went to 290, all within just eating food. And that was another addiction in my life as well. But I lost the weight right away. And when that happened, I had a lot of loose skin on my stomach. So I'm like, I hated my body, although I always had body issues from fat jokes and things put down towards my mother growing up. I always felt I was fat regardless anyways. And I'm 6'6". So 200 pounds is not a lot for being the height that I am. But when I first did my first cycle of steroids, there's a massive guy at the gym. He was like 360 pounds. He was curling 100-pound dumbbells. He was just huge. And he's like, hey, I have something for you that you can use. So anyways, I did my first cycle. And when I did that, it leaned me out. And I put on some good toning size of my body. I was like, now people are looking at me differently. Now I look like this professional athlete of some sort. I have girls' attention. And then it's like people at the bars started treating me differently when I was going out. So I started getting all this attention I was never used to before. So as soon as that first cycle ended around 3-4 months, I was like, I'm not really that happy yet. Somebody is like, well, why don't you try this, that, and that? I'm like, sure, why not? I'm loving my life right now. Might as well keep it going. And, I stayed on it until actually this past April. It was just testosterone because I was on it for so long that my natural levels dropped. Obviously aren't growing back. Well, they are today from my healings of them. But I always felt, and the biggest size I was 290 pounds, lean, 22-inch arms. I used to have to cut my shirts to get my arms through because I was so addicted to the attention that I got. And everyone wanted to be my friend. All these high maintenance girls, because they're focused on their looks. I was focused on mine. Our energy is just like, energy will always connect with like energy. I'm not saying anything bad about anyone else, but I'm just sharing on my experience, my story. But I always felt, even at the largest size I was at, I still felt like a little guy in a big body. I always felt that way. I always said it. I was known as like the gentle giant, unless my friends grabbed me at the bar because someone was going to fight them. They'd always come grab me because I was like the biggest guy there. But I always felt I was I've always been a soft person. And I believe, like yourself, when we chatted, us being an empath, we're very sensitive. So as children growing up, we were always very caring, soft souls that were living here. But that was the first time when I look back, and it was because I've never been healed in the ways emotionally that I needed the healings for my past. That's where I always felt like this little boy that was inside of me, because that little boy that was inside of me was so hurt. There was so much pain and suffering from never feeling wanted. No matter all the drugs I injected into myself to look a certain way, I still felt that little guy that was inside of me that was still hurting, that never received the proper attention that I needed. So that was the unhealthy part of noticing, and then throughout my transformation and growing with outside help, with therapy, I've always worked on myself since I was 17. Actually, the first time for 4 years I stayed in it not to be like my dad. So until I was 21, 22. And then I always worked on myself with outside therapy, and here I am almost 42, I'm still doing it, working to be the best I can be. And it was through that process of actually healing over time, healing that inner child, to live the joy and happiness that I live today, like you said, with the light and stuff. Now he's not suffering anymore because of all that work that I've done.
So understanding years and lots of work has happened. Does anything stand out as what has helped that little boy the most?
Yeah, let's see. There's a few layers to that, and I don't want to talk too much because I can kind of go on when I do. The biggest thing actually that jumps out to me right now is the gifts that I've been given through. They're actually what you call, I don't want to get too deep into the spiritualist stuff either, but the beings that I work with are very high level light beings. And these beings are called the High Council. And they actually give us permission on what we can do and what we're going to go through in our lives when we come here. So these are the beings that have taught me to help me grow in my process with what I do with the 25-minute healing sessions I do with people that connect with me, is learning. I get people in a meditative state. And like I said, everything that I do with other people are things that have been taught to me through High Council for me to have this transformation as well. But the first thing that comes to my mind is forgiving other people and forgiving myself. That was, and I just got goosebumps all over, so I know it's true. But most definitely is being able to forgive myself through the things I did when I was younger, and all through my life, to be honest with you. And then also forgiving the other people that hurt me. And the one thing I'll say that I do when I get people in a 10-minute meditation state is connecting them. I'm able to connect, to help them connect to their inner being. And then I repeat these things to them, what I'll say now, because I want to share this with people. is that they showed me as well through a dream. They brought me when I was sleeping to a dream to go through this process, and I remembered it when I woke up. And how we forgive ourselves, and I kind of briefly shared about it just 10, 15 minutes ago, is I was told, and I said to myself, I'm going to release bad karma and be able to forgive myself for past lives and also this life, because I did not have the tools or knowledge at that time to know what I was doing. Because I've learned from those experiences and I would not do them again, my soul has evolved, and that is how I'm able to forgive myself, is because today I have the tools and knowledge to know more, so I would not make those same mistakes again. Now, that is how we forgive ourselves truly, with when that realization kicks in and it really sinks in. You can then be like, oh, well, this makes sense, yeah. But I also apply that as well to other people. The people who have hurt me, they did not have the tools or knowledge to know more than what they did at that time. So they're on their path, they're on their journey while they're here as well. Now, if they look back, they would probably say the same things that I learned from that, and I wouldn't do that again. So this is how we forgive others as well. So I believe when I was done I think this happened, my full transformation as far as that was somewhere this past summer in like June. And that is when I really felt the release of the hurt and pain completely, because I've always worked on myself in my life. But that was like the nail in the coffin that ended to give me the light that I have in my life of connecting with that inner child. And a part of your show that you had here today was Inner Child Broken Man. And we had said that was going to be the name about a month ago, and it's come to me since then. It really stuck with me to share, is that we're never broken. We were never broken people. Whatever people are going through today and suffering with, they're not broken. They are here to go, as messed up as it sounds for people to not be able to comprehend with what I'm saying. They actually chose to come here to go through this experience, but to grow from it and evolve from it. Because the gift that they can't see today, when we leave here, the gift is it's such an amazing gift to have went through, to have grown from, right? So yeah, I just wanted to share that as well, as far as that.
And just to touch on the broken man aspect, reviewing my notes, I saw that written down, and I had erased broken. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to say broken. Nobody's broken. So again, we're very much in sync, and I totally agree with that. And part of the lie of feeling horrible and thinking that horribleness is me, is that I think I'm broken, right? When I wanted to die, I was sure that I was broken and flawed and couldn't be fixed. And and there was also something I didn't want to be. Like when you were addicted, you're like, I don't know, these are fine. I don't want to stop this. There's no problem here. We can become so enmeshed with our own self-identity, being one of pain and trauma and misery and depression and anxiety, that it's almost impossible to imagine that there's something else. And that's what it was for me. So the perception of being broken drove me for many, many years. But wait a minute, no. We just, again, hadn't learned how to live my best life. Hadn't learned that everything I need is actually here. I just haven't figured it out yet. I haven't, like, how does this body work still? It's like learning to walk on a deeper level.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing about that too, even when you came to that realization, is the only reason you came to it is because of where you're at today. And the same as me. That's the only reason. So for others, though, that are out there still suffering, they still see it as they're broken. They don't understand the difference yet because they haven't grown from it yet. Right? So.
And you're talking about what people have done to you, and it was, the best they could. And I forget where this came from originally, but every shitty idea in the world was somebody's best idea at the time, based on their current knowledge and circumstances and understanding. Right. So, wanting to die, attempting to end my life was the best thing I could come up with in that time. And I'm thrilled to discover that I was wrong.
Yes.
And what I find is I really know that I'm growing when I not just learn, when I really am aware and realize and can accept that I was wrong about something I was certain of before. And that's when I like, oh, now new doors open. Now I get it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I used to, there's an old saying of you can be right or you can be happy.
Yeah.
And growing up, I had to be right. And, life sucked, then you die. I'm right about that. Don't try to convince me otherwise. And now I'm like, oh, wait, I could just be happy? Like,
Yeah.
Screw being right.
Yeah. No, and it's great that you pointed that out too as well. I almost went through with it. I went through 5 months of severe depression actually this last summer. And I was close to actually coming to that point where it was like that, I was 100% going to do it again. And again, the thing for me that I learned through that transition, that was the last as well, because this past summer I overcame 3 things. One being self-sabotaging, the next thing being anxiety I had all of my life, and the other one being depression I had all of my life. Within 4 or 5 months, I overcame all of them completely. And the big thing about anxiety, for people to understand how to overcome anxiety, and his name's Charlie Goldsmith. He has a show on TLC in the States. He's working with doctors now and whatnot, but his show is called The Healer. So I don't think he's fully aware of how he does it, but he also has light that comes from him, and he's been healing people working with doctors now in the States. But he had a program on, and I did his program, and it was overcoming anxiety. And the best way that he explained it, and I just share the seed the way he did, when we go through, we're children and we're told not to cry, we're told not to be angry, and we go through traumatic experiences. We don't know how to process our feelings. Having anxiety is actually a natural feeling to have, and it's not horrible. It's a warning for us. When you hear the emotions and feelings of hearing a funny joke, we're never told, hey, stop laughing at that funny joke. We go through the feelings and emotions that run through us. You hear the joke, you laugh at it, you find it funny, you feel the emotions go through your body, and it leaves us. The emotions leave us. Energy and motion. Anxiety, and this is a beautiful gift that I've been given, and I really do hope people try this because it does work. Today I honor anxiety. I appreciate it. I feel it coming. I'm like, okay, I feel it coming. And I know it's going to flow through my body the same way. It's just a warning. It's not letting your mind go off, because that's how I had panic attacks most of my life. My mind would start going and race. Now I feel the emotions and feelings of the anxiety, and I let it flow through me, and I know it's going to be gone just like a funny joke. Honest to God, the first time I tried it, I was walking through Costco. I was like, okay, this is the first time I'm feeling anxiety since stopping my meds. And I'm like, okay, it's going to come through me. I know it's a warning. I didn't even think about it again. It was until I walked to the till, I was like, holy shit. Oops, I don't know if I can say that. I was like, I got to the till and I was like, wow. I completely forgot I started having anxiety, right? That's how we overcome anxiety. Self-sabotaging my entire life, and this was taught to me through the High Council, and this is how I help people as well, through my 25-minute session, is releasing, that's what I already shared about, actually, about forgiving ourselves, right? Releasing past lives, things that you have not forgiven yourself for, you carry on with you to the next life. And that's why I say past lives in this life. And I get people to repeat this to themselves as well, is having the realization of you've learned from these experiences. You do not need to suffer anymore because you would do things differently. So coming to that understanding, the last phase for me was actually back probably in September. I think it was the beginning or mid-September. And I was very close because of losing the love of my life, actually, and a roller coaster of meds throughout the year. Doctors changing me on stuff caused, a rocky relationship, which I suffered from greatly, and her too as well, going through, what it was with the emotions I went through. But what, again, the High Council showed me is that when we go through phases in our life of anger or fear, when you're typically addicts as well, because the emotions they're not feeling they're using drugs, they become very fearful. When our energy of our body gives off that energy, and when we leave here, if we're at a place when we leave here at the end of our life and we see a lot of shame in ourselves or anger towards other people, you do not feel worthy to leave and go back home or go to the light. So you stay here. The vibration then of who you are in your spiritual body, it will feed off of other living people here with the energy. So as soon as I started going through, with my addictions, the fears and anger and the sadness that I was going through, what happens is these spirits will attach themselves to us because that's like energy attaching to like energy. So I actually had 50 spirits that were attached to me. And what happens is when you're already someone who's highly sensitive like we are, and we're feeling depression, they gather to our energy and they bring us even deeper into that field of energy, and they keep us there because they're feeding off of it and they want it because that's where they're at. So because I can see spirits like I can actually, what the High Council taught me is I bring those spirits in front of me, I call them in front of me, and I get them to forgive themselves. I do the same thing that I help people with here. I talk to the spirits that are in front of me, and I teach them to forgive themselves. The same spiel I give to a human. I do the same thing to them. They understand, they come to the realization, and I actually see them all go to the light, leave through my ceiling. I can see them all leave. That release was life-changing for me the next day because I do not have any of those spirits attached to me, bringing me down to that dark place where I have full control over my emotions today that I've never had my entire life. So that's how I overcame that as well, which I do in a 25-minute session with people. I remove them. Everyone I've done this for so far has been life-changing. Within 25 minutes of me just getting them to lay there, connecting with their inner spirit, and getting them to repeat what I say, and also for me to call those spirits in front of me to forgive themselves, immediately the first thing people say is, I feel so much lighter. So I've removed the darkness from their life and I brought the light in. So now they're feeling happier, they feel more clear-headed, and then being able to forgive themselves for all the secrets that they have in their life and for how people have hurt them. They're able to realize and have this new understanding to be able to forgive themselves and other people as well. And like I said, that's what transformed my life. That's what's changed me completely. And now to have this beautiful gift to be able to do the same thing for whoever seeks it, because the person needs to want it and seek it. As much as I want to go to everyone, let me heal you, it doesn't work that way. You need the desire to reach out, and those people who had that desire to reach out for that change, every one of them so far, their life has changed for them. And I'm very honored to have this a part of my life, to be able to heal people as I can, as far as that aspect of healing that I'm able to do. Cool. So I forgot what your question was, but I felt that was very important to get out.
Cool. Yeah. And now I know you do some sort of live healings on Facebook. So
yes.
Is that the same process you do one-on-one with people? Okay.
No.
Tell me, what are those like? What is that about?
So I actually, when I came back to my body, I connected with another friend who has a connection to spirits. And she said, I went to a place, a spiritualist church. I went there and she's like, they helped me grow more with what I was able to do. And I said, okay, cool. Okay, I'll go there. Maybe I can meet some people and figure out what the hell is going on with me here. And I grew in the most beautiful ways. I went there for about a year, and I grew to the connection to my inner self, which just kept exploding from there. But we were actually taught, there's a minister from the UK from the spiritualist church. He came over and he taught us how to connect with our healing guides, because we all have different, whatever names people want to give them. I'm just using the term guide, but we have different guides with us that do different things. So he taught us how to start building a relationship with the guides that help us. So I actually learned, I've been very quick with my learning and growth, because they know the passion and drive I have for the work that I'm doing, that they work very hard with me. Because anytime a person doesn't really care to, Well, it takes a lot of their energy to even put in to be connecting with us. So they, so I've grown in ways I can't even explain yet. But it was building the relationship with my healing guide. And I grew from that very fast. And the light then started coming. I could feel the light coming out of my palm of my hands. And because I can actually see the light that comes from my hands around my room. This is a healing light from where we come from on a very high frequency level of love and light. And when you connect to this level of love and light, and it goes through us, it comes through us, it's actually because I can see as well with my eyes closed now. With my eyes closed, I can actually see like a hologram and it's blue. So I could see like a pinhole will kind of open up on your palm. And then it opens up to like the size of an eye. And that eye, the light comes out of like a pupil per se. And the light comes from our hands. And then fingers as well. And you'll feel, some people will feel, who have this connection, they'll feel like balls on their hands. Sounded funny if it's hearing audio. But anyways, I'm trying to be good about it. It's like a softball of energy. And it's of light. So this light, what happens is I do these healings and people watch me when I do them Monday nights. Right now I'm coming on, and this is Mountain Time. I come on at 5:55 and I start 6 p.m. sharp. And this is a 15-minute meditation. I play some frequency of sounds, music to help connect with people so they feel more relaxed. So what happens is the light, I get myself in a meditative state. The light comes from my hands. I don't know how it works, but it connects with the people who are watching with me. And the best way I can explain this for people, because this is, it's such a hard thing for people to have an understanding and even have a concept of trying to understand, what it is I'm saying, because a lot of people are like, oh, that's BS, right? When you were to go back 40 years ago and you told someone, I'm going to have a screen in my hand, no wires, no cords. I'm going to connect within seconds and see someone halfway around the world. They would call you absolutely nuts. You'd be locked up, getting zapped in the head with whatever the doctors want to do to you, because it's completely crazy. But when we've been learning and growing and evolving in this world with frequency and energy is a thing that we've been growing into. When I connect with people or others who are able to do the same thing, the light that comes from us connects to the other spirit who is seeking it, like a cell phone to a cell phone instantly, within seconds. Just like seeing the video of me talking to you right now, connected to nothing. It's instant, right? So I connect with these people. Now, it's always their intentions on what they want healed. If they're going through pain and suffering emotionally, a lot of people will feel at peace after watching and participating, and they'll feel warmth around their heart. Because I don't know much about chakras and stuff. It's something I should learn about. But apparently your heart chakra. So they end up leaving the session with feeling so much peace in them. They're not in pain like they were. I have video testimonies. I've healed people within 5 minutes of physical issues. I've healed, and I have testimonies on my Facebook page. People have left testimonies. Like there's been an older lady where she had bad arthritis. After just a short session of watching me live, she was able to stand up with no arthritis. She went outside and mowed the lawn, something she hasn't done in years, And then there's been a lot more things of healings that I've helped people with who couldn't walk before, severe pain in their legs. They got up, the inflammation was gone instantly, and they could walk flat on their feet again. So there's so much power to what it is I'm able to do, but that is how the healing sessions work. And I've healed people from even watching my replays, have been healed, leaving reviews over in Ireland, over in Australia. There's people just from watching my replays and participating in my replays, and how they work, I don't know, but I just know that they do work for the people who seek it.
Cool. So what's the best way people can get in touch with you, learn more, and track you down?
Facebook, Jeffrey Saunders, Edmonton, Alberta, if they type that in the search, or if you want to, and then that's my personal page. Live the Life You Deserve Coaching is my business page for Facebook in the search bar. Or if you type in at Coach Saunders, Saunders 99, then that page will open up as well. And then you can see my services that I do. But the healings are free. I do them every Monday. like I said, at the time that I do them. And I don't like charging people for my healing sessions. I don't, it's just personally, I don't charge people for it. But I do charge for my 25-minute sessions because I do throw in a little bit of life coaching to help them. And then I'd have my 10-minute session where I help them remove all the darkness from their life. So that I do charge 50 American. And then my life coaching, of course, is my other thing that I do. And that I have great reviews. Again, if you look on the testimonies on my business page or on Facebook, you know, those are $95 American for a 45-minute session. And then if they want, I also throw in a 10-minute healing session at the end to help them as well. And I've had great success. I've actually been growing pretty fast here now from word of mouth on the power of just my 25-minute session or my one coaching session with the healing at the end to give them a new mindset and new perspectives to live a healthier life and a happier life. I've been very successful so far and very grateful and humbled for where I'm at today to be able to give back to people.
Cool. That's amazing. It's been 10 years since I first took my an in-depth life coaching program. It was an energy coaching program, and learning that once you can zero down into the root cause of things, which is always energetic, and you change it there, results can be instantaneous, and things that seem like miracles, and they can be miracles, but you can. It's like, you know, the medical model and traditional therapy. You can talk about something for years and years and years and get kind of slow relief by sharing it, or you can go right to the source, deal with the energy, bring in more light, and just. It's just amazing results happen. So, so I know of what you speak, and I know of the benefits, and so I wish you much success and greater testimonials and a bigger reach. You're a fabulous, open-hearted man, which there is not enough of. So I'm really glad you're out there. I'm really glad you're still here with us.
Yes, me too.
I'm glad there are ways to benefit from your gifts without having to die and come back.
Yeah, most definitely. No, I'm, you know, like I said before, I feel bad. I feel really bad for the people who have passed on, you know, from the pain and suffering. So that's why I feel more of a responsibility and duty as well, to be so open and transparent and honest in my life, to give back, to help more people who are suffering, to end the suffering before they end themselves.
Cool. Yep. So if you want to find, we'll have links at realmenfeel.org in the blog post for this episode. You can link directly to, I'll link directly to your Facebook pages, and people can experience the kind of the group healing sessions and reach out to you and experience some of the one-on-one stuff as well. Yeah,
most definitely. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's why I'm here. So bring them on.
Beautiful. And as you said, you can't push someone towards you. Like it's got to be for you. You can I find time and time again, all of us, we can only hope those who want to be helped. They have to be willing to be helped. Yes. And you might have a loved one who's not there yet. And that's got to be okay.
Yeah. They need to hit their own rock bottom of whatever that means for them. Right.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. There has to be a bit of humility and realizing, again, maybe that it's that decision of, I can be right or I can be happy. And can I accept that I've been wrong and how I've been trying to live and how certain I've been about things, and am I willing to open up other possibilities? So so here's to better possibilities.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Cool. So thanks again, Jeffrey. It's been great talking to you. I'm sure we'll be in touch. You're one of the many people that kind of begin as guests and end up as friends. And so I'm honored to talk with you more and in depth and kind of share your experience and your story with a wider audience.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate even you reaching out to me to ask me, because it's all about, like, I started my podcast there a couple of weeks ago, which you're going to be a part of, I think, in 2 weeks around. And it's just about getting our story out to connect, to help more people who are still suffering. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing with what you're doing. And I hope to get up to where you're at today, because I've only done 2 podcasts now. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun connecting with people, you know, to give back to the people who are suffering. So.
Yep. Awesome. So thanks again, Jeffrey. Thanks everyone for listening. Do check out the links, check out his work, see how you might experience it and feel better about yourself, your life, your future. And wherever you're finding Real Men Feel, please give a share, a like, a recommendation, a review, whatever you can to kind of give back to us and let other people know. Share the energy of this program, share the energy of yourself, and through all of that, be good to yourself and forgive yourself. Thank you for listening to Real Men Feel. Contact us at realmenfeel@gmail.com. Learn more about Andy Grant at theandygrant.com. Please subscribe to this podcast and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn, or wherever you are discovering Real Men Feel.